So this is Zuccotti Park, formerly known as Liberty Square, apparently. It's very appropriate. And this is the scene where, in the early hours of this morning, the Occupy protesters were removed by the police. And this place is crawling with police. And that bloody whistle they bloody have, I don't know, keeps them happy, I suppose. Let's see what's going on. So until the early hours of this morning, this place was full of people, tents and what have you for nearly 2 months. And if I've not mentioned it earlier, the authorities, Mayor Bloomberg, Michael Bloomberg, brackets Rothschild Zionist, he cares about freedom. And he has said that when people are allowed back into this park, they won't be allowed to stay or put tents up or anything like that. Just have to come and go. And in that way, they're trying to diffuse the impact of the Occupy protest, which, because of its continuity, has become a form of, if you like, civil disobedience or non-compliance with the system. See, situation we're here. We've got the park, and all in the park are all the police and all the luminous jackets, and then walking around the outside of the park, particularly at the end there, are all the demonstrators that have been thrown out. And it really is a classic, like, scene of us and them, capturing the us and them world that we live in. Like, the area here is controlled by the uniforms that represent the state, that represent the system, that represent everything from banking to corporations, and everything that takes and gives nothing back to the people and lets them have the crumbs from the table, even if that with a lot of people. And all the people are on the outside, kept out of the, if you like, inner sanctum, which is how this whole frickin' system works. And it's a scene that really encaptures the way the system works, where the few, what the people here call the 1%, dominate everywhere that can bring the finance, the money and the power, and the people are just there on the outside, kept on the perimeter, stay out of here, and just take the crumbs you can get that we might let drop every now and again. This is the New York Stock Exchange. It's in the Wall Street area. It's in New York, but it could quite easily be in Las Vegas. You know, I could be standing here as an economics correspondent, and behind me could be the blackjack tables and all the other stuff, and the one-armed bandits. And I could be reporting on whether blackjack's doing well today, or whether some other form of gambling in Las Vegas is doing well today. Oh no, not so good. Not so good on the old the card tables today. You know, the takings were down, and oh my goodness me, how will people react to that? Because that's what it is. This is a casino, just like the stock exchange in the City of London or anywhere else. These guys come and they bet on the lives, the livelihoods of people all over the world, the poorest people in the frickin' world. They come here and they bet that if this happens that's not very good for them, well, they'll win their bloody bet. They'll bet on anything. They'll bet on countries going down, so that these credit ratings agencies like Moody's and Standard & Poor's and Fitch, they then credit rate countries on whether they should have this percent or this AAA or whatever it is. And if you know what those credit rating agencies are going to do, because you're involved with them, then you can then bet that this country's credit rating is going to be lowered, because you know it's going to be lowered, and you win your bloody bet. That's what it is. It's like going to Las Vegas, knowing the tables are rigged, but in your favor. That's what this is, and it's what is happening all over the world. And it's utterly, utterly grotesque, because this place alone, never mind the stock exchange in the City of London, this place alone in its disgusting history has cost the lives of hundreds of millions, if not billions of people, because of the effect, the decisions and the gambling and the manipulation and the corruption in this place. has had on the lives of some of the poorest people on planet Earth. No wonder people are sick of it. It's about time they bloody were. You were here from what? September 17th?
Yeah, I got here the very first night.
What made you come to start with?
Just the system is so screwed up. I don't even know where to start. You know, there's so many issues.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to come here to try to make a change somehow.
At least making a statement that we're not having it, yeah, or that we know that the system is what it is.
Right, exactly.
That's the start, isn't it?
Yes.
So what's it been like being here through this period?
Things changed so much. In the beginning, we were a small group. I think we were about 60 people the first night.
Right.
And we made it through the first couple nights. We stayed awake all night, so we were up for days because we weren't sure what was going to happen at that point.
Right.
And after that, it just grew and grew and grew until the whole park was full. I actually had the first structure down there that I built with tarps and inner tubes.
Right.
So it didn't really look like a structure, so it didn't get kicked down, but all my neighbors always got kicked down. So we really fought for that space. And yeah, we're protesting every day, doing marches. That really started to dwindle because people were getting arrested all the time and brutally beaten for no reason.
Right.
Just peaceful protesting, and people would get beaten and arrested for absolutely no reason. So the marches continued, but less people participated in them.
Right. Okay.
After, you know, that was going on. And then there were a few times when the police came in and were really brutal with people, especially in the beginning. Like the first rainstorm, we were trying to make it through that, and you know, we were just trying to cover the computers with tarps and things like that, and they came in and they beat people really bad and broke somebody's arm, knocked out a tooth.
Some of the energy, I'm not saying all, but some of the energy coming off these policemen is basically, I want to fight.
Yeah.
I want it to kick off.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, David, that in the beginning, there were some really nice cops, nice guys, because they're not all bad.
Absolutely.
And these guys that would talk to us, they would just get transferred out. Like, that was it. They'd last for a couple hours, and if they showed any sympathy at all, they just got transferred right away. So actually, to be honest, that this movement, they weren't really aware of what they were fighting.
Right.
They were so into Wall Street, Wall Street, Wall Street, and a lot of people didn't realize it's global.
Yeah.
And this has been planned for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Absolutely.
They didn't realize that it's all integrated, you know, the GMO seeds, the chemtrails, big pharma, all of it, you know, it's all a big plan. And they were just kind of like focusing on this one area, and they were focusing on America, and I was pretty unhappy with that because it's a global problem. It affects us all.
Absolutely, it does.
So, and it's all integrated, and it's been, like I said, planned, and as you know,
yeah.
I know a lot from reading your books, actually. So it's been planned out so thoroughly for hundreds of years, you know? And so I feel like, actually, at this movement, not everyone was fully aware of what we are, you know, fighting against or resisting against.
This is the problem, because if you don't know how the game is played, then the game can play you and get you to demand things that the game wants anyway.
Right.
This is you know, I've been saying that this has started. It's fantastic because it's a sign of the awakening that people have reached that, like that point in the Matrix movie. You're a slave, Neo. The understanding of our position, thus we need to do something about it. But the next stage is to get streetwise on the game, because then we can do something about it. But until that happens, and of course, to do that, people of the political left need to leave political left politics behind and realise that's just another mask on the same face that controls the right. So it's like even among a lot of the protesters, it seems to me, there's a big leap in understanding of the world that needs to take place before we really see what's going on, and therefore what we can do about it, really.
Yeah, folks really need to do their homework.
Yeah.
Really, 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 really big time. You know, there were even, you know, Big Pharma was even in here giving flu shots, and I went to them and I said, excuse me, who are you with, and what ingredients are in your flu shots, and where are they coming from? They would not disclose to me who was donating these flu shots.
Big Pharma was doing flu shots.
Yeah.
In the Wall Street protest.
Yes.
I mean, oh my God.
They wouldn't tell me who was funding it, and they would not give me a list of ingredients, and they wouldn't give me the brand of the flu shot or which flu shot it even was.
How many people were accepting them?
a lot of people, and I was going around, you know, like protesting that. It's like a protest within the protest.
I'm so glad you're here, I tell you. The voice of reason.
Yeah, but it was amazing. Like, I was really standing out front of the tent, like screaming to people, please educate yourself, Google it for God's sake, you know, because I didn't have all the paperwork with me at the time, so I was just trying to tell people, like, please, before you inject this poison into your body, like, just at least go Google it and educate yourself.
Right.
At least be educated. So, yeah, it was, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I couldn't believe people were going along with it. And actually, a lot of the people were having side effects that same day.
This is where there's the understanding of the suppressed masses, if you like, really just have to leap that chasm and see what you can see now, which is how it all fits together. What happened last night? You were here last night, were you?
I was here last night. I was actually out on a walk, and I came down this street, and someone said, we're getting raided. So I ran back here right away to make sure my friends were okay. And I tried to save, I tried to get out as few things that I could, like a tent, sleeping bags, tarps, so that we could rebuild if they took all of our stuff. So I managed to get out with a few things to keep a couple people dry and warm. That's about it. Everybody basically lost everything.
What was the attitude of the police when they came in?
They were very hostile, and they were very violent. You know, they were looking for a fight. You know, they weren't looking to be peaceful or work it out. They wanted to come in and they wanted to break everything and break anybody that got in their way.
Yeah. This is, I've been saying while we've been here today, they're recruiting that personality type now on purpose for this very situation, because their plan is to make things so bad, well, they've reached it already, but make things so bad that they know there's going to be a big reaction. And they've been preparing for it for decades by recruiting, in effect, psychopaths and narcissists into the uniformed professions to replace the old school type.
Right.
And because, you know, this, you quite rightly, as you said a few minutes ago, this has been planned for such a long time. And it's not, you know, this is the thing that people need to understand. These events are not random. They're part of a carefully orchestrated blueprint. And if you don't understand that, then you can get caught in thinking it's all random and off the cuff when it's coldly calculated.
And I also feel like what went on here is a big distraction. There was no education. Like, I wanted to do alternative history, you know, all kind of different education, and there wasn't education in the park, and I feel like they were focusing on this one main thing, and I feel like the whole thing was a distraction. A really big distraction from the important points.
Do you feel that that at least some of this has been orchestrated by the very people that they're protesters against?
Yes, and I believe this raid last night was allowed to happen. I don't have any proof of that. It's something I feel.
It's just that, you know, some of the organizations that I've been watching that have been, you know, oh yes, we support them and all that stuff, so many of them are either funded directly by or indirectly by through other organizations. George Soros, you know, and George Soros specializes in his network, which includes the Open Society Institute, the International Crisis Group, on triggering public protest around the world. Like, they were behind the one in Egypt, they were behind the ones in Eastern Europe.
I'm tired of hearing this conspiracy theory.
And the idea is to get people to protest and then demand that things change in the way the system wants it to change.
Right.
And if, like that guy, you don't understand how the game works, it plays you.
And this is what we're dealing with a lot of the time in here. You know, when you try to educate people, this is what you get.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really hard because a lot of these folks, most of these folks are indoctrinated.
Yeah.
They don't have true education, they have indoctrination.
Which is what education is. And the thing is, you see, that that people like this guy are thinking is, I've genuinely come here. Well, yes, virtually everyone's genuinely come here.
Right.
But what force is manipulating the way you see the protest and the way the protest needs to go? That's the thing. And if you don't understand the game, then you become manipulatable. When you know the game, and they say, you know, pushing you to call for world government and stuff to overcome the banks, then you go, but the world government's exactly what you've been working for hundreds of years for. So you can see that you're being pushed in a direction that those you're protesting against want. But if you don't know the game, you can think, yeah, world government, good idea, stop the banks. And you then demand what the bloody banks want.
And you'd be really surprised when you drop the name World Bank, how many people didn't even know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's shocking, really.
Yeah, this is the next stage that we need to go to. People understanding what they're dealing with. Because while
Absolutely.
they perceive Tea Party on the right, this protest on the left, Republicans and Democrats, they're missing the point that we're dealing with a one-party state.
Right.
It was all in my wallet. Right now I'm a vagrant and apparently I can go to jail because I have no identification.
What happened last night,
It's
mate?
fucking ridiculous.
What happened last night?
Last night I'm sleeping in my tent and at about 1 o'clock in the morning I heard screaming and yelling and all kinds of shit, commotion, people screaming, cops running around in riot gear, chasing people. They were smoking cigars, laughing.
Well, the cops were.
The cops were.
Yeah.
And like they're telling us to get out, leave, or you're gonna get arrested. I have a puppy. I have a little, like pretty much newborn puppy, so I had to leave. I can't let my dog get in danger.
Sure.
But I had to leave so fast that I wasn't able to grab all my gear, my wallet, my medication for my PTSD, all my identification. Everything I have is gone.
They've taken it all.
They've taken it all and threw it out.
I was reading this morning that they piled all the stuff of people's up in piles and then just shipped it out.
Just threw it out.
Yeah.
Threw it out. My
And-
sleeping bags, my gear.
There's some violence breaking out in the centre there. When I say violence broke out, well, I think a protester went into the park and a ludicrous number of policemen jumped him. Yeah, it seems what the fella did was go into the centre of the park carrying an American flag, symbolising, obviously, this isn't this supposed to mean something? And the mob grabbed him and he's gone off to jail now. See behind me here, you've got all these people in uniform and luminous jackets. I'm sure luminous jackets are bloody breeding. Anyway, they are people who think they have power, but they have no power whatsoever. They are merely animating a uniform which has the power, which is an extension of the state. And when they take the uniform off or get another job, they have no power. Someone else comes in, takes it on, and the uniform still is the power. And they're in prison too. I mean, you know, they are themselves, they have children, they have grandchildren, and their kids are going to have to live in the world that they're helping to enforce. And when the penny eventually drops, and it is in some of them, that's what they're doing. They're going to be bloody horrified. And then there's the other kind of police now, where they use things like biometric testing, which are like job application forms that glean someone's personality. And they're looking for the psychopaths and the narcissists. And both of those personality traits have something in common. No empathy, no emotional consequences for their actions in terms of the way they impact upon others. And as a result of that, we've seen this gathering brutality among police and law enforcement all over the world, not least in America during these Occupy protests. But these people are prisoners. They're told what to do, they're told what to think, and they're enforcing a system which their children and grandchildren are going to have to live in. It's tragic that some of them might wake up eventually.
They arrested 200 people here last night. It's just, I feel like they're just trying to get everyone, scare people, and they want to cut down the numbers. I don't know. I mean,
Well, I think they're doing two things. They're trying to scare and intimidate people, and they're also trying to trigger people to get so freaking angry that
they want martial law.
They want to fight. They want the violence so that they can then problem, reaction, solution, introduce their martial law. Exactly. When you get a group of people this large, all human life is here, and some will have the capacity to get so angry that it will break out into physical response. But if we do that, we're walking into their trap, of course. But that's what they want. They want to intimidate some people, get rid of them, make life really bad for them so that they I can't stand this anymore, and they go home. And also trigger other people to start violence. Or of course, put their own bloody uniforms in civilian clothes to start the bloody violence and claim it's bloody protesters.
You notice they stand with their helmets on. Peaceful protesters are there. They're no threat, and they stand with their helmets with their billy clubs, and they're just looking. Some of them just looking to just cause violence for no reason. We're no threat.
But this is the point. This personality type that they've been recruiting all over the world, the psychopath narcissist, it wants a fight. It wants a fight. It's looking for a fight, and that's why they're brimming over. Hit me, let's go. And the more we don't, the more we frustrate them. We've got this real kind of contrast here. Over there is the park where all the protesters have been, and over here is staff, it seems, from Brown Brothers Harriman. This is I mean, if you look at it, look at the size of the frickin' building. Brown Brothers Harriman are one of the major Illuminati banks of the last, going back to the 1800s, and they're having their picture taken here. This is the kind of 1% that the people are talking about, and while people are suffering and people are losing their homes and are going into the streets, these people are working for the companies, the system that's actually doing it. And they'll have no problem. You know, we had a situation not long ago, about a couple of weeks ago, where there was a company that had every year they had like a party with a theme. And it was a company that was throwing people out of their homes, often illegally, during this mayhem that we've been going through. And they had this theme party. The people were actually doing it where they dressed as poor, homeless people who'd been thrown out of their homes and all the rest of it. I mean, talk about no empathy. Go on, they're going back into their big building now to do more mayhem for the world. It is ludicrous. It is outrageous. There's 7 billion of us. There's a handful of them. We need to sort it peacefully, but sort it. Morning, it's a damp New York morning. It's November the 16th, and it's one day before the 2-month anniversary of the occupation here in the park. It's down the road from Wall Street, and it's one day after the police raid on the camp and the court decisions that say, yeah, people can come here and protest during the day, but they can't stay overnight, and they can't take anything in there that constitutes anything that they could, use to stay overnight or stay here permanently. And of course, there'll be a lot of people who have now got to look at going home, or even, finding a home. Maybe some of them have been here for 2 months, and you can see that the numbers have dwindled to almost nothing at this moment. I'm not saying that's how it's always going to be, but that's what it is at this moment, this morning. I mean, it's dominated by the luminous jackets. There's lots of police, but in fact, if you counted the luminous jackets and the police, there's more of them than protesters at the moment. And we are kind of at a pivotal moment, I guess, where the system is kicking back, in the sense that all over America, these occupation protests have been removed by police in much the same way that we've seen here in New York. And now the big question is, where does it all go from here? Does it go anywhere from here, or does it go on to another stage? We can only wait and see what happens. Well, I'm standing here now in kind of the center area of Wall Street, and behind me is this building, and George Washington, the first president, in the background, where the first inauguration took place. And of course, George Washington was a massively high Freemason. And in Washington, D.C., where you've got the headquarters of the 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, in the garden at the back, you can see it through the fence, is a bust of George Washington because of the Freemasonic connection. And it's never really ended. And what's kind of ironic, given what's all that's been going on around Wall Street and what's been going on financially in the world, this plaque up here talks about the fact that it was at this time in the year of our Lord, 1787, when the American land became independent and became dedicated to freedom. But of course, it's never been dedicated to freedom. When you look at the personnel involved in the Declaration of Independence, and you look at the Founding Fathers, there are a mass of Freemasons. And thus, from the start, this land called America has been controlled, actually not from America, but from Europe, the center of this global Illuminati network. And it's still controlled from there today. So Americans think they're free like other people in the so-called democratic world because they can choose between a mask on the same face every 4 or 5 years and that's their freedom, when actually whoever's in power is answerable to the same hidden hand in the background, thus Democrat or Republican, it doesn't bloody matter, the same agenda starts unfolding. And really, we've been given such a kick up the backside in relation to that by the election of Barack Obama, because, you know, in American history, maybe even political history, anywhere, could anyone claim to have been different, to be about change and all the rest of it? And then what happened, it turned out to be business as usual. Why? Because you tell people what they want to hear to get elected, and once you're in, you do what was always going to happen all along, which is you're going to follow the agenda of the people that put you in there with the vast bucks, as they say here, that are needed to go behind you to become president. And here we are in the center of Wall Street with a plaque and a so-called place standing for freedom, when the buildings all around here are the very, very buildings occupied by the very, very people and the very, very force, not least dominated by the House of Rothschild and Rockefeller, that have actually systematically denied freedom, not just to the land of America, but to the world, along with places like the City of London. And this is a place where it already all comes together. The freaking illusion of freedom. This is the land of the free. If only it was. And that which has taken, to a very large extent, freedom away. It's, I would call this bullshit square. Very appropriate. This is just down the road from Wall Street and the great mass of New York, and the Statue of Liberty is just across the water there. And this is a place of such irony when you look at it. This is a depiction of the Earth that stood for 30 years, this plaque says, at the World Trade Center. And after the horrific events of September the 11th, 2001, it was moved here in a very, understandably smashed up state to be a kind of memorial to the people who died. And then over there in 2002, a eternal flame was created as part of this memorial. Well, how ironic it is that since September the 11th, of course, an inside job engineered by people who have the eternal flame, the Illuminati flame, as one of their major symbols. This, symbolically and literally, is what's happened to the Earth. It's been smashed up by justification of more and more surveillance, more and more control, Patriot Act, the increasing police state, war on terror, invading countries and slaughtering untold numbers of people, usually with brown faces. And it's been justified by what happened that day. That's where it triggered and where it all started. And it says here that this was called the Sphere, and it says here that it is about the spirit, the indestructible spirit of this country. Ironically, the things that have happened justified by 9/11 right up to this day in New York have been designed to destroy that supposedly indestructible spirit and bring the American people to their knees militarily and economically. It's like I say, you can see it in one way, but from another perspective, this is just a great mass of irony and contradiction. See, this is an interesting little juxtaposition in Wall Street, which really encapsulates a theme through history. In the background is a church with a spire, and hundreds of years ago and up to closer times, the church or the cathedral still is in some cities, dominates the skyline. It's big, that's the big tower, and people are here. I'm just little me, because God's up there, and it's a big church. And then, as things have moved on, the big buildings in the cities are now the freaking banks. And that they've gone into an even greater position of scale in terms of people. So if you look up there, look at the size of that bloody building, eh? And here's people in the street, little me, oh, I've got no power from the banks. And they've even got a bit of a stained glass window in there, which is actually quite bloody appropriate, because the banks and the financial system's now the new bloody religion. And just as it took over the lives, real religion, if you like, bricks and mortar religion and all these other religions that we've seen through history, they took over the minds and dictated the lives of the people. Now this new bloody religion, finance, banks, it has taken over the lives and dictated the lives of the people. And we had a rebellion over the church, and we need a bloody big one over this. Because, you know, people say we must reform the banking system. No, we mustn't. We must get rid of the banking system as we know it now, because it's the very way that it works, creating money out of nothing and charging interest on it, which is the very structure through which a few can control the planet by creating money out of nothing. Fresh air, non-existent money, theoretical money called credit. That has to stop. It's now the morning of September 17th, 2 days after the night raid, and it's the 2-month anniversary of when this Wall Street Occupy protest began. And my goodness me, the protesters, which got a bit scattered yesterday after the raid, my goodness me, they've come back with a vengeance. I really do admire their tenacity. And this place is teeming, but teeming with police. I've never seen so many police officers in one place anywhere in the world at any one time. So what happened this morning? There's a protest down Wall Street.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone tried to block up all the entrances to Wall Street to try to delay the opening, and I guess they succeeded with that, correct?
Yeah, they blocked 4 separate entranceways, and they delayed it by like 30 minutes.
And then we kind of came around late, a little bit later, because we got here a little bit later, and we were down, what was that, William and Beaver, and everyone's just hanging out and just kind of just being very peaceful. And then all the police just came out with the sound weapon and got on and said, "Please disperse the area. This is an unlawful assembly." And we weren't doing anything illegal. And then they just didn't even give us a second. They just said, "Everyone's moving back to the sidewalk," and they just came in with force. They're asking for IDs to walk down the streets in New York City. We are living in Nazi Germany. Papers, please. It's insane. I can't believe this is really happening.
We've just had a bit of an insight into the way the New York police operate, because on the other side of the road, one or two of the people here that have been here a long time, they recognized an agent provocateur policeman dressed as a protester with a bag on the back, and as soon as he was sussed, he headed away from the crowd and down this street in a way, and it's absolutely disgusting that we have people, so-called protectors of the public, who are putting people in there to cause trouble, to then defame and degrade what these people are doing peacefully. Absolutely disgusting. And they've got children and grandchildren, and they're building the frickin' world and actually trying to discredit people who are trying to give those children and grandchildren a better world than they're going to have if it goes on as it is. Disgusting. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Did you guys get that on video?
Yeah, no,
I was filming.
Yeah.
People were like, "He's a provocateur. He's a provocateur. He's an undercover cop." I started filming him, came over and like bumped me like really hard. And he came over, right? Look for a picture. Hey, don't put your hand on me. You were just called an undercover cop, right? You just assaulted me. Hey, I want charges pressed on this guy. He's running all the way around. He doesn't know what to do, right? Yeah. He's running all the way around. And I'm like, "Officer, he just hit me. He just hit me. Stop this man." None of the officers stopped him, which means he's an undercover police officer.
Absolutely.
This man just assaulted me. Can you guys please take care of him? Just assaulted me. I have it on video. Guys, this guy just assaulted me. Can you please do something? Officer, can you stop that man? He's running all the way around, and then he goes into the only area that the NYPD is allowed in. This is the only area the NYPD is allowed to go into, and I filmed him. Walking where only the NYPD could walk to. That gentleman that put his hands on me, I have it on video, guys, right there. The guy in the book bag. I have it on video. Can I please talk to a police officer, please?
I mean, it turns my stomach that anyone could even do this.
Yeah, openly a police officer walked into the only area where police, like you see that pendant area?
Yeah.
There's nobody else is allowed to be in that little area except police officers. He just straight plainclothes walked in right in there.
Here's a news van, all-seeing eye on the side, how appropriate. In the end, if you got the pyramid, all these major news organizations are owned by the same people and take the same line every day. They stand there, the cameras are fixed, and then about maybe once an hour, maybe more than once an hour, in this rolling news, ludicrous bloody system they have, they tell bullshit to the camera. To a newsreader who's asking them questions who knows shit about what's going on here. It's a laugh, really, if it was so pathetic. Okay, it's an increasingly wet day in New York. Here we are in the park, and with me is Luke Rudkowski of We Are Change New York, who we met last year when I was here, and he's done a great job and doorsteps famous people and puts questions to them that other people won't do. And you've been here since day one, haven't you, mate?
I've been here since day one, from the very beginning when it first kicked off. I've been here almost every other day that things have been happening down here. As we see, there's a commotion right now with the police officers. The police have really not been behaving like they should. It says serve and protect. All they've been doing is beating and pepper spraying people who, not only people who are here to protest, but even me as a journalist who's covering everything that's happening here outside of protesting, just documenting. I got personally maced. I got a nightstick to the gut a couple times. I got a horse that stepped on me. I got shoved and pushed to the floor. And all I'm here to try to do is to document and show the world what's happening here and try to get the real inside story here.
I've said to a number of people, looking around, there are definitely some police officers that just want to fight. They're just looking for a battle.
Oh, they're definitely looking, just to instigate. This movement, what intrigues me about it very much, it's a non-violent, peaceful movement, peaceful resistance like Martin Luther King and Gandhi. Just pretty much the same principles behind We Are Change are the same principles being practiced here and exemplified. So these people are trying to take this country back in a peaceful manner, because everybody's been talking about the riots, the class wars that are going to come. These people are trying to prevent all that from happening. They're trying to prevent people from fighting people, and they're trying to bring everybody together. That's what really intrigues me and makes me want to be out here every single day to find out more about it, to expose how this is really breaking down. And to me, this is really an historic moment. And I know many people have their different thoughts and ideologies behind this. They say it's co-opted or not. What makes me sure that it's not is because of the horizontal process, because of all the different groups of people here. I've been here when other groups try to take this over for more government system, for more taxes, more government regulation, more government jobs. I've been here, but they failed. And because of this horizontal democratic process. And seeing this from the first time I was here since day one, Yahoo censored them, Twitter censored them, the mainstream media censored them until they couldn't any longer, because the people were talking about it. Everybody on YouTube, everybody on the internet was talking about how the police are pepper spraying women after cattling them in nets. Yeah. So it's something the mainstream media now has to cover. And again, I have to say, this movement hasn't been co-opted yet, but many attempts have been made by the Democratic Obama Party to try to take this over as a re-election campaign, and they failed.
That's the point, that if you can't ignore something, the point comes when you think, well, if we can't ignore it, it's not going away, we'll take it over. Yeah. And that's the really important thing that it's not allowed to happen.
Exactly. They did it to the Tea Party. Tea Party was grassroots. Started out with Not 11 Truthers and Ron Paulers, and then it was taken over by the Republican Party with Sarah Palin and Glenn Beck. What we just saw here a couple days ago is that they failed to co-opt this. So now that they failed to co-opt this for their own means, their own agenda, they squash it. They want to destroy it. And that's what we've seen, a federal government meeting up with 18 mayors on a conference call to try to squash this movement and destroy it. But as I saw a beautiful sign out here just a couple days ago, this young girl is holding a sign, "You screw us, we multiply." And that's the real power behind all these people here. Screw us and we multiply. It's raining, it's pouring. I'm freezing my butt off here, but I'm joined out here with brothers and sisters from all walks of life, all ideologies who had enough and are sick of what's happening here, and they want to make a difference and they want to make a change. And it's beautiful, it's amazing.
To what extent, Luke, are people starting to, who came for the financial injustice and the financial enslavement, or starting to encompass the wider conspiracy of which that is a part? A big part, yes, but a part.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody here knows everything to the bottom line of how it began, how it started, and all these secret societies behind everything, how they manipulated it, how the Bilderbergers said they're going to, create economic crisis to benefit them, to create a one-world government system. And there are some factions here who are promoting that one-world government system here, the communists and the socialists here. But there's also other people like libertarians, like Ron Paulers, Not 11 Truthers, and the Fedders. And also, and that's two little wings here that are very different from each other. But they've been able to come together here when everything was built here, sleep together, take care of each other, feed each other, sit down and have a conversation and learn from each other. And that's what has been taking place here. People have been having these dialogues, these discussions. When I personally came here, I put my ego aside. I put my own agenda aside. I didn't come in here as a Not 11 Truther, as an Enda Fedder. I came down here as a human being willing to talk, listen, and learn. And I learned so much from these human beings out here. And but what you see is this communication is so key. It's so important. And that's why they have to stop it. And that's why they have to stop these people coming together.
Now, of course, since I've been here the last few days, it has been this significant point where something very different has started to happen. It started with the raid and the removal of people and the law that says you can't be here at night and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And the dynamics has changed. So where do you see it going from here, from this point forward?
I don't have a magic ball. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Obviously, it's getting colder. Obviously, the police oppression is so much stronger now than it ever has before.
I've never seen so many police in a city one place in my life.
This is nothing compared to what happened inside here Monday night. Not many people, all the journalists were, again, kicked out of here. They were dragged out of here. 7 of them were arrested for trying to cover what was happening inside of here. But what happened inside of here is beyond what I saw throughout my life covering the police state. And I went to the G20 in Pittsburgh and got LRADed. They had 3 LRADs here. You know, they had weapons and informational systems that were out of Star Trek down here. Huge mass trucks with huge satellites, lights everywhere, helicopters everywhere, stopping the media helicopters from even getting anywhere near. They closed the airspace off here. That's how afraid they are of this movement. So I even forgot your question. I was just rambling on.
You're talking
Yeah,
carry on.
yeah, but I'm just saying, I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does. And I think that's what's beautiful about it. There's no plan. There's no leadership. There's no one person deciding, this and this is going to happen next and next and next.
Right.
Nobody knows because we all have to decide. We all have to come together. And I think that's the beauty. That's the amazing part of this. It's real. It's amazing.
What I think really needs to happen to push this on is that people of different political persuasions, I mean those even on the so-called Tea Party wing, the genuine people that can see the tyranny, they might have a different political view, but they can see the tyranny, come in common cause with people here.
Exactly.
So we have literally, we don't, not just enough to fill the park, but to fill the streets going back from the park, because in the end there's 7 billion of us. And there's a literal, comparative handful of those that are actually orchestrating.
And there's even discussions here that it's not even the 1%. It's the 0.00000.1 that have been dividing and conquering people from all different paradigms, from the left to the right, from communism to libertarianism, whatever it is. But what you see here is all those factions, all those different perspectives, all those paradigms meeting coming together, breaking bread, sleeping together, and willing to discuss political ideas about what we all agree upon and what we're going to do next and how we're going to fix this problem that we all face.
I mean, the only ism we need is freedomism, isn't it?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
don't care about your background, your income bracket, your color, anything. Because we're all targets, and we need to come together, or we get divided and rolled into this
Exactly.
police state that's, I mean, you know...
It's already coming. It's already here.
Yeah,
it's here right now.
It's here now, and,
Yeah.
and it's just a case of how far we're going to let it go in. I mean, George Orwell would be standing here now, shaking his head.
Yeah, George Washington rolling over in his
not
grave right
not
now.
only saying I told you so, but saying I didn't realise it was going to be quite like
That
this.
bad, yeah.
It's going beyond 1984, where they
Yeah.
want to take us.
And we've seen that, and we've seen the Big Brother Society being set up here. But a beautiful sign I saw, it was like just a couple days ago, and when I was walking through here, when the camp was still here, there was like, "Dear NYPD, you're live. The whole world is viewing you on our live stream. Say hi." And they had a sign all over the park because really right now we have a chance to fight back more than ever, and that's why this time is more pivotal. They haven't shut down the internet. They haven't regulated it. They haven't controlled it. The free flow of information is out there, and that's why the mainstream media now is forced to cover this because their whole audience is going online to see what's really happening here. And now they're losing all the audiences because they ignored this from day one. They ignored this for a week like it didn't even exist. I mean, Oakland shut down its entire city, but the mainstream media is still trying to like not mention it and not even bring attention to it. But what we've seen them trying to do is slander and try to destroy this movement from the inside by giving key time and key positions to some of the people who have their own agendas here and making it seem like it's all of us when it's not.
I was going to come to that. I mean, you've got obviously agents provocateurs here to cause trouble.
That's
to
definitely
blame
without
everybody.
a problem. Yeah,
And
that's
then you've got the not agents provocateurs, but
just an average retard, drunk alcoholic
yeah.
who may come down here.
But
yeah.
like you've just mentioned, you've got the like political version of agents provocateurs, which are people that the mainstream media give time to, who
Exactly.
are claiming to represent what people are saying here when it's just representing their own agenda. How much of that is going on?
Tremendous amount of that. I mean, there's been many instances. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name different news organizations, but they've been giving play to the socialists here. There's a group called the Young Democratic Socialists, and they wanted demands for more government jobs, more government regulations, and more government taxes here. Everybody here freaked out against them, but they're trying to play it off like, yeah, they're the spokespeople for Occupy Wall Street when they're not. But they only haven't been doing that. They've been going after the mentally deranged people here that even some newspapers reported the NYPD sends mentally incapable people here, drunks, alcoholics here, to live here. And they've been going all throughout the parks and sending them here. This is actually reported by the New York Post in order to break us up, in order to divide us, in order when an average person comes down here, sees this like rabble-rouser. And the mainstream media has been pretty much focusing on those mentally incapable people who are alcoholics, who are dependent on some kind of drug, who only come here to have the food and have the clothing and not participate in the General Assembly, not participate in the working groups and the committees here that are trying to build something on their own.
And that tells you something. That
Yeah.
tells you they're terrified of where this could go.
Exactly.
I tell you, I love the frickin' energy here.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. You know, it's this what I call the non-comply dance.
Yeah.
We've even got music for it now. Where-
Resistance, the spirit is in the air
yeah,
right now.
the spirit of we're not having it anymore.
Exactly.
And you know, you've done a great job, Luke. You've done a great job here.
You too.
And it's really great to be here, to feel this energy.
Information and knowledge is key, and that's why we have to keep talking together, keep communicating. Even if you disagree with somebody, you know, I still call them a brother or sister, and I'm still willing to listen and try to learn from them. And I've been able, you know, even communists, I've been able to sit down with them and become friends with them. Even though we come from totally different political ideologies, but we have those discussions, and we come together, and we're here facing the police together.
Well, it's interesting. You know what that pastor said in Nazi Germany? First they came for the Jews. I was not a Jew, so I did nothing. Then they came for the communists, and I was not a communist, I did nothing. Then he came for the trade unionists. I was not a trade unionist, and I did nothing. It's this divide and rule that they're desperate for. You know, what you're saying is that those barriers are falling, and that's just what we need.
Unity is key.
Yeah,
the
unity is
elites
key.
are not even united themselves,
Yeah.
and that's why we don't have a new world order. That's why we won't have a one world government now, because they're still arguing and vying for power in different factions. Now, the key to success is who's going to get unity first. The few 15 families that rule everything, or all of us. And it's a race to the finish of who's going to come together first, and whoever does is going to win.
I'll see you at the line, mate.
I'll be here, brother. Good seeing you.
Cheers,
Thank
mate.
you
Good
so
to see
much.
you.
See you too, man.